Young doctor changed bandage for female millionaire in a coma. Shockingly, she woke up and... In the quiet hum of a hospital ICU, where machines beep in rhythmic precision and time seems to stand still, one decision changed everything. Dr. Aiden Lee, a young doctor with sleepless nights etched into his tired eyes, stood at the bedside of Olivia Gian, a billionaire trapped in a coma for 6 long months. The room was cold, sterile, and heavy with silence, broken only by the steady rhythm of her heart monitor. But something about this moment felt different. As Aiden carefully cut away the yellowed, suffocating bandages, wrapped too tightly around Olivia's chest, he didn't just see a patient. He saw someone fighting to breathe under layers of neglect. What happened next would defy logic, challenge fate, and rewrite both their lives forever. The story begins not with grand gestures, but with small acts of defiance, moments when humanity steps forward, despite rules trying to hold it back. For Aiden, it wasn't just about protocol or procedure. It was about doing what was right, even if no one else seemed to care. Olivia Gian wasn't just another name on his roster. She was a mystery, a woman who had once conquered Wall Street and Silicon Valley, now reduced to a fragile figure lying motionless in a hospital bed. Her dark hair contrasted sharply against the white sheets, her face serene, yet haunting. And then there was Aiden, a man from humble beginnings, whose hands trembled slightly as they worked over her pale skin. He didn't know it yet, but that single act of changing her bandages would spark a chain reaction neither of them could have imagined. As the old bandages fell away, revealing faint red indentations lining Olivia's torso, Aiden clenched his jaw. Someone had let her suffer in silence for half a year, and he couldn't ignore it any longer. Margaret, the head nurse, tried to intervene, her sharp voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Dr. Lee, stop. You're risking your career." But Aiden's response came quietly, yet fiercely. "Then let them fire me." His focus never wavered as he replaced the stiff, neglected bandages with fresh ones, ensuring they were snug but not constricting. It was a simple act, almost mundane, but it carried the weight of rebellion. And then, as if the universe itself paused to take notice, the heart monitor stuttered. Beep, beep, faster, stronger. Aiden froze, his breath hitching. Margaret gasped beside him, her clipboard slipping from her grasp. Numbers climbed on the screen, 60, 65, 70. And for the first time in 6 months, Olivia Nyan showed signs of life. But here's the thing, waking up is only the beginning. While Aiden stared at the flickering numbers, his mind raced with questions. Why had Olivia been left in this condition? Who benefited from keeping her comatose? And most importantly, why did his instincts scream that this wasn't an accident? The deeper he dug, the darker the truth became. Suspicion gnawed at him like a relentless shadow. Was it possible that someone close to Olivia, a family member perhaps, had orchestrated her silence? The more clues Aiden uncovered, the clearer it became that this wasn't just a medical mystery. It was a web of greed, betrayal, and power, plays hidden behind closed doors. Enter Daniel Gian, Olivia's younger brother. On paper, he was the perfect heir, polished, ambitious, and always ready with a calculated smile. After Olivia's accident, he stepped seamlessly into her role, managing her sprawling tech empire with ease. To the outside world, he appeared supportive, visiting her regularly, and making public statements about hoping for her recovery. But beneath the surface, cracks began to show. Aiden noticed inconsistencies, odd hours logged during visits, Nervous glances exchanged between Daniel and certain staff members. Then came the unmarked vial, tucked away in a supply closet, filled with a low-dose anesthetic, designed to keep someone sedated without raising suspicion. Each piece of evidence pointed toward one chilling conclusion. Daniel wasn't waiting for his sister to wake up. He was ensuring she never would. Yet amidst the mounting tension and unanswered questions, something miraculous unfolded. As Olivia slowly regained consciousness, she brought with her not just hope, but also vulnerability. Her first moments awake were raw and fragile, dark eyes blinking hazily, searching for answers in Aiden's gaze. Unable to speak due to the ventilator tube, she communicated through blinks and faint movements, clinging to the sound of his voice. "You're safe," Aiden whispered, his tone calm but unwavering. "I'm here." Those words weren't just reassurance. They were a promise. In those fleeting exchanges, a bond began to form, rooted in trust and resilience. But while Olivia fought to reclaim her strength, Aiden faced battles of his own. Doubts crept in, fueled by late-night whispers and headlines questioning whether he truly belonged in her world. Could love survive such scrutiny? Or was their connection destined to crumble under the weight of expectation? And so, as the storm brewed both inside and outside the hospital walls, the stakes grew higher with each passing day. Aiden knew he couldn't protect Olivia alone, not when powerful forces were determined to silence her permanently. Every clue he uncovered brought him closer to the truth, but also deeper into danger. Meanwhile, Olivia grappled with her own demons, wrestling with memories of betrayal and loss. Together, they navigated uncharted territory, leaning on each other in ways neither had anticipated. But just as they thought they were gaining ground, a new threat emerged, one that would test their courage and force them to confront the ultimate question. How far were they willing to go to fight for justice, for love, and for a future worth living? With the pieces falling into place and tensions reaching a boiling point, the stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything. Aiden gathered the evidence, his resolve hardening with every step he took toward the executive lounge where Daniel sat confidently among hospital brass. The air crackled with anticipation as Aiden pushed open the glass doors, folder in hand, ready to expose the truth. But what happened next would leave viewers hanging on the edge of their seats, desperate to know how this high-stakes game of power and redemption would play out. Stay tuned, because the real battle is just beginning, and nothing will ever be the same again. As the heart monitor spiked, and Olivia's eyes flooded open for the first time in 6 months, Aiden felt a mix of awe and dread. The miracle he had hoped for was unfolding right before his eyes. But with it came an overwhelming sense of responsibility. Who could have done this to her? And why? These questions gnawed at him as he sat by her bedside, late into the night, watching her chest rise and fall with each labored breath. The ventilator hissed softly, a reminder of how fragile life truly was. Margaret had warned him not to get too involved, but Aiden couldn't shake the feeling that fate had brought him here for a reason. He wasn't just a doctor anymore. He was her protector. Olivia's awakening wasn't immediate or smooth. It was slow, uncertain, and fraught with pain. Her body rebelled against movement, her muscles weak from disuse. Yet there was something fierce in her gaze when she finally locked eyes with Aiden. She blinked once, twice, then managed a faint twitch of her fingers on the bedsheet. It was enough to break through the haze of doubt clouding Aiden's mind. This woman, who had been written off by everyone else, was fighting back. But who would fight for her now? As days turned into weeks, Aiden began piecing together fragments of evidence that pointed toward one chilling conclusion. Someone close to Olivia wanted her silenced permanently. The more Aiden dug, the darker the truth became. Security footage showed Daniel visiting Olivia's room at odd hours, always alone, always carrying something small and unmarked. Nurses whispered about strange vials disappearing from supply closets, while others noticed inconsistencies in Olivia's medication logs. Aiden knew he needed proof, something concrete to expose whoever was behind this conspiracy. So, under the cover of night, he slipped into restricted areas of the hospital, sifting through records and files, until his hands were stained with ink and his head throbbed with exhaustion. One name kept surfacing: Daniel Gian, Olivia's younger brother, polished and ambitious, seemed untouchable, but Aiden saw the cracks beneath his confident facade. Meanwhile, Olivia herself struggled to regain control of her life. Though physically awake, she remained emotionally distant, haunted by memories of betrayal and loss. Aiden tried to reach her, sharing stories of his own struggles growing up in Queens, hoping she'd see him as more than just her caretaker. Slowly, tentatively, she started opening up. She spoke of her father's oppressive control, her mother's early death, and Daniel's jealousy over everything she achieved. Each word carried the weight of years spent building walls around herself. Aiden realized then that saving Olivia wasn't just about exposing Daniel. It was about helping her reclaim her humanity. After so much had been stripped away, tension escalated as Aiden confronted Jenny, the nervous nurse caught on camera, accepting a bribe from Daniel. Cornering her in the break room, Aiden pressed for answers, his voice low but firm. "What did he give you?" he demanded, showing her the grainy stills of the exchange. Jenny hesitated, tears welling up in her eyes. "He said it was harmless," she stammered, just to help her rest, that she'd wake up soon. When Aiden asked about the money, Jenny admitted Daniel had paid her $5,000 to keep quiet. "I didn't know it'd go on this long," she sobbed, guilt etched across her face. With her confession recorded and signed, Aiden finally had the ammunition he needed, but using it meant stepping into dangerous territory. Daniel's reaction confirmed Aiden's suspicions. During a tense confrontation in the executive lounge, Aiden slammed the folder of evidence onto the table, revealing every damning detail. The room fell silent as Daniel's smirk faltered, replaced by cold fury. "You're playing a dangerous game, Lee," he spat, towering over Aiden. "You think you can take me down? I own this city." But Aiden stood his ground, refusing to back down. "Not anymore," he shot back, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "Olivia deserves justice, and I'm going to make sure she gets it." As the legal battle loomed ahead, Aiden and Olivia grew closer, their bond deepening with every challenge they faced together. Late-night conversations turned into shared laughter, and moments of vulnerability revealed the strength they found in each other. Still, the outside world remained relentless. Tabloids speculated about their relationship, painting Aiden as a gold digger and Olivia as naive. The pressure mounted, testing their resolve. Could they withstand the scrutiny? Or would the weight of public opinion tear them apart? The climax approached rapidly, culminating in a dramatic courtroom showdown, where secrets spilled and truths came to light. Olivia took the stand, her voice trembling, yet resolute, as she recounted the betrayal she endured at the hands of her own brother. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled furiously, and the gallery buzzed with anticipation. Aiden watched from the sidelines, his heart pounding as Olivia laid bare the lies and manipulation that had kept her trapped in silence. For the first time, The world saw her not as a billionaire titan, but as a survivor, a woman who refused to let greed and cruelty define her. But even as victory seemed within reach, danger lurked just beyond the courthouse steps. Aiden sensed it the moment they emerged into the chaos of flashing lights and shouting reporters. His instincts screamed warning, seconds before a hooded figure lunged toward them, a glint of metal catching the light. Time slowed as Aiden threw himself in front of Olivia, the knife grazing his arm in a searing flash of pain. Chaos erupted around them, security rushing in as Olivia screamed his name, clutching him tightly. Blood soaked his sleeve, but all Aiden could focus on was her terrified face. "I'm fine," he murmured, forcing a grin despite the agony. "I told you, I'll take 100 hits for you." Back at the hospital, surrounded by paramedics and nurses, Olivia refused to leave Aiden's side. Her fear morphed into anger as she vowed to end the threats once and for all. That night, she made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Calling a press conference, she addressed the nation with unwavering clarity. "They tried to bury me," she declared, her voice ringing out strong and defiant. "But I'm here because of one man, Dr. Aiden Lee. He saved me, and I love him for it." The room erupted in gasps, but Olivia didn't care. She stepped off the stage, walking straight to Aiden, her gaze unwavering. "Believe me now?" she asked softly, a challenge in her smile. Pulling her close, Aiden buried his face in her hair, the noise of the world fading away. They weren't just survivors. They were partners, ready to face whatever came next together. The aftermath of the attack left both Aiden and Olivia shaken, but more determined than ever. As they sat together in the hospital room, Olivia tending to his wound with trembling hands, it became clear that Daniel wasn't going down without a fight. The hired thug had been just the beginning, a message sent to intimidate them into silence. But instead of fear, the attempt ignited something fiercer within them. Resolve. "This ends now," Olivia whispered, her voice steady, despite the tears streaking her face. Aiden nodded, gripping her hand tightly. They wouldn't let anyone tear them apart. Not Daniel, not the tabloids, not even their own doubts. The next morning, Olivia took control of the narrative. She called an emergency press conference, standing tall in front of flashing cameras and skeptical reporters. Her words were sharp, deliberate, cutting through the noise like a blade. "My brother tried to kill me," she declared, her gaze unwavering. "He drugged me, stole my company, and sent someone to finish the job today. But I'm here because of one man, Dr. Aiden Lee." She paused, letting the weight of her statement sink in. "He saved me, not with money or power, but with courage and love. And I'm taking back what's mine." The room erupted in gasps and murmurs as she laid bare the truth about her coma, Daniel's betrayal, and Aiden's role in her recovery. By the time she stepped off the stage, public opinion had shifted dramatically. Support flooded in from every corner, and Daniel's empire began crumbling under the weight of his crimes. With the legal battle won and Daniel sentenced to prison, Olivia made a bold decision that shocked everyone, including Aiden. She dissolved most of her fortune, funneling billions into charitable causes for education, healthcare, and women's shelters. "I don't need all this," she told him one evening as they packed up her penthouse. "It was never really mine anyway. It belonged to my father's greed and my brother's ambition. Now it belongs to people who actually need it." Aiden watched her sign the final document, pride swelling in his chest. For so long he'd doubted whether he fit into her world, but now he saw that she had chosen to step fully into his. A life built on purpose, not possessions, Their journey didn't stop there. Together, they opened the Nan Lee Clinic, a modest yet transformative space nestled in an underserved neighborhood in Queens. Named after Aiden's late mother, the clinic became a beacon of hope for families who couldn't afford traditional healthcare. Aiden worked tirelessly in the exam rooms, treating everything from colds to chronic conditions, while Olivia managed the logistics, charming donors, and ensuring smooth operations. Their partnership extended beyond romance. It was a seamless blend of strengths, passions, and shared values. Late nights were spent side by side over paperwork, laughter mingling with exhaustion, as they dreamed of expanding their reach. One evening, as summer gave way to autumn, they stood on the clinic's small porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The sky blazed orange and pink, casting long shadows across the cracked sidewalk. Aiden leaned against the railing, his arm brushing Olivia's. "Worth it?" he asked softly, glancing at her. She turned, her eyes warm and certain. "Every second," she replied, sliding her hand into his, their fingers laced together, rough calluses meeting softer skin, a testament to the lives they'd touched and the battles they'd fought. "We did this together," she added, her voice filled with quiet pride. Aiden squeezed her hand, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Yeah, we did." As the years passed, the clinic grew into more than just a building. It became a symbol of resilience and compassion. Patients came not only for medical care, but also for connection, knowing they'd be treated with dignity, regardless of their circumstances. Aiden and Olivia's love story became legend, whispered among staff and visitors alike. It wasn't just about how they'd overcome betrayal and danger. It was about how they'd chosen each other, again and again, against all odds. Their bond had weathered storms, scandals, and self-doubt, emerging stronger with every challenge. On the 5th anniversary of the clinic's opening, Aiden stood beneath a string of twinkling lights strung across the porch. Olivia joined him moments later, holding 2 cups of coffee. The air carried the crisp scent of fall leaves, and the distant hum of the city felt comforting rather than intrusive. "Remember when you thought you didn't belong in my world?" Olivia teased, handing him a cup. Aiden chuckled, shaking his head. "Yeah, well, turns out your world needed a little queen's grit," she laughed, leaning into him. "And mine needed your heart." They stood there in silence, sipping their coffee as the stars began to dot the sky. That night, as they locked up the clinic and walked home hand in hand, Aiden reflected on how far they'd come. From the sterile confines of the ICU to the vibrant life they'd built together, their journey had been anything but ordinary. Love had carried them through chaos and uncertainty, proving itself stronger than greed, doubt, or fear. As they turned onto their quiet street, the golden glow of their living room lights spilling onto the porch, Aiden stopped and pulled Olivia close. "Thank you," he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "For believing in us when I didn't." Olivia smiled, resting her head against his chest. "Always," she whispered. And in that moment, surrounded by the simplicity of their shared life, they knew they'd found exactly what they'd been searching for all along: a love unbroken, a purpose fulfilled, and a future brighter than any headline could ever capture.